And lastly, what are your plans? We're very intrigued. Of late, you've been speaking to a lot of leading media networks globally. You're increasing your footprint. You're speaking in very influential circles in the topmost universities in the world. What are your plans? What is your end game in this?
The plan is to make sure that we are in this first phase successful in bringing this regime to collapse by means of internal pressure, probably at its climax, nationwide labor strikes, which is the least costly way and the most effective way to paralyze the regime. And of course, to be prepared to manage a transition phase, at which time an interim government will have to be formed. I think the majority of the participants are, as I speak, inside the country. We have to be able to plan for the inclusivity of the majority of elements that are not criminally tied to this regime, whether on the civilian side, but particularly on the military and paramilitary side. There has to be an exit strategy offered to them so they can see a place for themselves beyond this regime. We're not talking about the disaster of the Baathification in Iraq after the fall of Saddam Hussein and send all the troops home, and half of them ended up becoming ISIS fighters. This is also part of the plan to be inclusive of the majority of them who are not corrupt or involved in the criminal behavior of this ruling mafia. That is also tantamount to calling the nation to national reconciliation and amnesty to the extent possible. We have to make sure that during the transition, we have every element of transitional justice taken into consideration. We have to prepare the grounds as soon as possible for the election of a constitutional assembly, whereby all these elements of the constitution, the form of the regime, its content, the level of centralization or decentralization of power, and so on, will be debated. And ultimately, when this parliament will propose to the nation a constitutional plan, the nation can, in a referendum, adopt and finally vote for what they want for their future. To me, that's the end game. The end game for me is the day Iranians go to the poll and finally determine the future of the land. I would have considered that a lifetime's mission accomplished.
Well, this has been very interesting. We'll track whatever you do next. And of course, we'll keep talking to you as we watch the situation in Iran and in the Middle East. Thank you very much, Mr. Pahlavi, for talking to me and for talking to the Republic Media Network. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.